But do you believe that common sense can prevail with Trump in the White House so long as he is there?
I am absolutely confident that common sense will prevail. You know, at the end of the day, I am an economic determinist, and I think economic reality is a very powerful thing. And the economic reality is our relationship with the United States is balanced and mutually beneficial. You know, take the steel industry. The U.S. actually has a slight surplus in trade in steel with Canada. So it just doesn't make sense. And then there's something called the rule of law, and that really matters to Canada, and Canada is always going to stand up for that. Thank you.
Lisa Hefner from CHCH. Minister Freeland, can I just ask for a follow-up to the first question? You were asked whether or not, you said that you don't expect retaliation from the U.S. due to these retaliatory measures because they're not warranted. But what if there is retaliation? What if there are tariffs on the auto industry? What would Canada's response be then?
Well, the auto industry action, which is being contemplated in the U.S., the legal authority for it, which is being discussed, is Section 232 action. It is not being contemplated as a retaliatory measure because there are no retaliatory rights which could be contemplated. We have said, and I think that this is a feeling all Canadians share, that it is absurd to consider that Canadian steel and aluminum could pose a national security threat. How much even more absurd it is to suggest that car parts made in Canada to go into a car manufactured in the United States, which very well may be sold back to a Canadian, that those car parts could be a security threat. How absurd is it to suggest that a car manufactured in Canada with a very great number of U.S. parts, which is the case for cars manufactured in Canada, how absurd to suggest that that car could pose a national security threat. So the Section 232 action on cars, which is now under investigation by the Commerce Department, is absolutely absurd. We have been very clear about that in public and in private, and we will continue to be. I think it's also very important to underscore that the Canadian and the U.S. economy are highly integrated. Any trade action is disruptive on both sides of the border, and we are already seeing the disruptive impact of the Section 232 steel and aluminum tariffs. There are more than 20,000 applications for exemptions currently being reviewed by the Commerce Department. Those are applications by U.S. companies that are seeking relief from the burden they bear from the U.S. Section 232 steel and aluminum tariffs. I would invite people to contemplate how much more disruptive action in the car industry, which operates as a single, highly integrated industry between Canada and the United States, how disruptive that would be, certainly for Canada, but very much so also for the United States. So that is really, really important for everyone to bear in mind. And I think that that is an issue where it is absolutely imperative that common sense should prevail. Having said that, our approach from day one of the NAFTA negotiations has been to hope for the best, but to prepare for the worst. And I think the government has demonstrated when it comes to Section 232 on steel and aluminum, we were ready. We announced detailed lists a couple of hours after the U.S. measures were announced. And we are today, having fine-tuned those lists over 30 days, prepared to put them into action on July 1. We're ready, really, for pretty much anything. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.